Some call him a house Negro, others a modern slave, and for most Africans, simply the traitor. His real name?
Langley.
And he carries a very simple mission: to rescue Burkina Faso, the Sahel region, and the whole of Africa by fighting terrorism.
The U.S. seeks opportunities to continue to collaborate with Burkina Faso.
Sounds perfectly positive, 100%, doesn't it? And yet some people praise him for his achievements. But then, why would US authorities consider replacing this now notorious to Africans 4-star general, Michael Langley, after multiple backlashes across the continent? Well, my friend, believe it or not, something really big is unfolding in African geopolitics. From Burkina Faso's junta regime welcoming the Russians, to US proxies in Africa collaborating directly with American interests behind closed doors. In this video, we reveal the most secret mission given to this man, and who might fulfill it next. This is not another generic video you've seen before. It's a full breakdown of how Western powers are using militaries blended with tricky soft power to destabilize African states, especially after the recent accusations by Michael Langley targeting Ibrahim Traore, which ultimately sparked a revolutionary movement across the continent. Will Traore be the next Gaddafi? Or is this the real beginning of true African independence? Let's break it all down now. At first glance, you see it. He's physically vigorous, naturally powerful, and commands presence without saying a word. And when he opens his mouth, you immediately confirm what your eyes already sensed.
That I will and faithfully
discharge the duties
of
the office
on which I'm about to enter.
So help me God.
So help me God.
That deep voice roars with authority. His appearance, his walking rhythm, his height. Simply put, this is the very definition of a soldier you'd expect anyone to fear. But here's the question: should Captain Ibrahim Traore fear him too? Is Langley just a powerful figure or something more dangerous? You'll get that answer after discovering the truth behind this man and why he remains the only 4-star black general in US Marine Corps history. But first, before we expose the mission behind his presence in Africa, who is Michael Langley really? Michael Elliott Langley's story is one of breaking barriers. Born around 1962 and raised in Shreveport, Louisiana, he grew up as the son of an Air Force veteran, moving between military bases before eventually settling in Texas. As a teenager, Langley was a track athlete, a 400-meter sprinter known for his endurance and grit. In fact, it was on a university track field where a Marine Corps recruiter challenged him to take on the Marines' punishing officer training. Langley accepted the challenge and never looked back. His official career began when he was commissioned as a Marine officer in 1985, after graduating from the University of Texas at Arlington. Over nearly 40 years, he rose through the ranks, leading Marines from platoon to regiment, with deployments in Afghanistan and Somalia, gaining deep experience in counterterrorism. He became known as the man who took on the toughest assignments, from training elite units to high-level Pentagon planning. Often the only black officer in the room, Langley quietly shattered glass ceilings in a space long dominated by white men. Then came history. On August 6, 2022, Langley became the first black 4-star general in the 246-year history of the US Marine Corps.
I, Michael Elliott Langley,
Do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend
the Constitution of the United States against all enemies,
foreign and domestic.
He was soon confirmed to lead AFRICOM, commanding all US military forces across 53 African countries. A journey to become infamous across Africa began here.
And General Michael E. Langley assumes command of the United States After Command, effective 9 August 2022.
Langley's official mission: protect and advance US national interests in Africa. But to many, he also represents something more complex, a Black American leading the US military on African soil. This is where juicy parts begin. For those who don't know, AFRICOM isn't just another US military branch. It stands for United States Africa Command, the body responsible for coordinating all American military operations across the African continent. Headquartered in Stuttgart, Germany, AFRICOM's official mandate is to work by, with, and through African partners to combat terrorism and maintain regional stability. But behind that diplomatic language lies something far more controversial. To critics, AFRICOM is a tool for projecting US power and securing Western interests, especially where strategic resources like gold, oil, uranium, and rare earth minerals are at stake. Now you can understand why Langley accused Traore of misusing his country's gold reserves, because those reserves are no longer serving Western interest. In response, Traore fired back with a pointed question. Why is it that no African country has a military base in places like Germany? Why would Africans accept this imbalance? The answer, according to him, is simple. These bases are not built for Africa's security. They're built to safeguard their interests. Before we dig any deeper, I want to ask you a small favor. If you're enjoying this video so far, smash that like button. It helps the algorithm recommend this video to more people like you who deserve to hear the real truth. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more powerful videos just like this one. Your support helps us keep exposing what they don't want you to know. Over the years, AFRICOM has been involved in drone operations, covert training, and counter-terror strikes in countries like Somalia, Niger, and Libya. And while American generals often speak of partnerships, many Africans see something very different, as echoed in countless viral posts to fiery commentary across African social media. In 2025, AFRICOM ramped things up again. That year's US-Africa military exercise, codenamed Flintlock 2025, brought together forces from over 30 African nations, all under the banner of counter-terrorism. And General Michael Langley? He wasn't just observing, he was orchestrating. He met with heads of defense from across the continent in Nairobi, reaffirming AFRICOM's commitment to capacity building and joint readiness. But this meeting didn't sit well with many Kenyans. Online backlash poured in. Some accused their own government of turning Kenya into a US proxy. And Langley only fueled the fire when he praised Kenya as the regional security leader.
Kenyan Defense Forces have a reputation here in East Africa as a leader and security exporter.
Even African Americans took to social media and campus protests, calling out Langley by name.
As an African American woman, I am so proud of President Traore and so happy for the people of Burkina Faso. I don't know any American, and I don't know every American, but I don't know any American that even knows who General Michael Langley is. I actually just found out who he was 2 days ago. But when you see Black people being put in a position like that, and then turn on their heels to criticize another leader in another country, that is by design, and they do not speak for us. They are ruining the reputation of African Americans globally.
Many demanded, leave Burkina Faso and the whole of Africa alone. Let them have their independence. But here's what most people missed. Langley also used this moment on African soil to publicly defend his gold accusation against Ibrahim Traore. In an exclusive interview with Citizen TV Kenya, Langley stood his ground saying, "That's my assessment. Militarily, the Burkina Faso remain vulnerable."
So you stand by that statement? Because there's been pressure on you to walk those statements back.
That's my statement, that's my assessment. That is getting worse.
Yet in the same breath, he admitted it's Burkina Faso's sovereign right to use their resources how they choose. A contradiction that didn't go unnoticed. Because if that's true, why accuse them in the first place? This wasn't just a military drill anymore. It became a diplomatic showdown. While troops practiced maneuvers in the desert, Langley's words were igniting headlines and fueling resistance across the continent. What should have been a symbol of unity became a mirror, reflecting Africa's growing defiance to foreign control.
Please, I want you to listen to Langley very carefully.
In 2007, the global percentage of terrorism on the African continent was 2%. 2024, it's like 43%.
You got it, and you are right.
It migrated down, that ideology.
In the past 20 years, terrorism in Africa was nearly zero compared to other parts of the world. Then the United States came in, claiming to fight terrorism on the Black continent. And what happened? Terrorism numbers surged dramatically. Today, Africa accounts for over 40% of all global terrorist activity. So now, you're probably asking the same question many are asking. Did the US bring terrorism to Africa, disguised as security support? Let's put it in common sense terms. Why would they come to fight almost nothing, only for terrorism to rage like never before? And now, just when the situation worsens, they are cutting aid, pulling back support, and blaming African leaders. So what's the real big thing behind the US military's presence in Africa? And what's the real purpose behind all those trainings they are offering African armies? Before we reveal that, let me remind you, if you're enjoying this breakdown and want to see more powerful stories about the true African leaders who are rising right now, go ahead and subscribe to our channel, Arisen now. And if this video has opened your eyes, don't forget to hit the like button to support more content like this. Now, to truly understand their mission, let's go back to 2021. What you're seeing is raw footage that circulated on social media in late 2021. It clearly shows American soldiers celebrating after a successful military coup in Guinea, led by Colonel Mamadi Doumbouya, who ousted then-President Alpha Condé. This happened during a joint US-Guinea Special Forces training operation. Shortly after, the US suspended further military engagement, but the message had already landed. This moment exposed everything. The US military's mission in Africa isn't just about training and anti-terror. As one Guinean teacher, Diafaru Balde, said it plainly, if the Americans are involved in the putsch, it's because of their mining interests. A clear reference to Guinea's huge reserves of gold, iron ore, and bauxite, the core mineral for producing aluminum. Washington denied any involvement in the coup, but for many Africans, this was an unmistakable sign. The US military isn't just in Africa to help.
The skills that we teach are skills that anybody can learn. They're varying level.
They're here to set up and maintain proxies. And if you appear to be a barrier to their interests, they'll find a way to eliminate you. Now you can better understand why Langley accused Traore of misusing his country's gold.
In Burkina Faso, as they know that both, whether it's their gold reserves, that is all those proceeds are just in exchange to protect the junta regime.
That gold is no longer serving US interests. And though Langley later walked back his statement, claiming it's Burkina Faso's sovereign right to use their resources.
Burkina Faso's sovereignty. They maintain their sovereignty. They make the decisions how they use their resources. They make their decisions who their resources go to for military support. That's their sovereign right.
The truth lies in the first word, not the second. And here's something almost no one talks about. During a US Senate hearing, one senator directly asked Langley, how do you explain the fact that many of your trained soldiers later lead coups in Africa?
This is Colonel Mamadi Doumbouya, and this is a photo of him. Did we train and equip him?
By name, I cannot identify that.
Well, that's him with a bunch of US service members outside of our embassy. And just months after this photo was taken in 2021, he led a coup in Guinea and threw out the leader. Does that concern you?
Congressman, core values is what we start off with in IMA programs.
And what percentage of the people we've trained end up participating in insurrections or coups against their own government?
Langley's answer? He fumbled, he rambled, and in the end, he gave no clear figures, no solid response.
Very small number, Congressman, very small number.
So what percentage do you think?
I'd say probably less than 1%.
This would be like about 500, about 1% of 50,000.
Congressman, you may have that information. I don't at this time, but I know.
Well, I know there are some.
Just vague words and deflection until the senator moved on. That moment revealed something deeper. Either Langley didn't have the answer, or the answer was too dangerous to say.
Congressman, we could talk about it in the classified section on that.
Either way, it left a chilling impression that perhaps the US is quietly shaping regime changes across Africa, even if it won't officially admit it. Recently, Captain Ibrahim Traore announced the launch of a local gold refinery, a bold move to add real value to Burkina Faso's gold before exportation. But this didn't sit well with the West, especially France. Why? Because they don't want value-added gold, they want it for free. And this, right here, is the main reason why Traore's head is wanted more than anyone else's on the Black continent. He's not just challenging policies, he's challenging an entire system that feeds off African resources. Now, if you're curious about how Traore is being protected, we made a special video revealing 7 powerful security layers guarding him, most of them influenced by Russian tactics. If you haven't watched it yet, make sure to check it out after this one. But before you go, there's something I need to point out, something that connects the fate of many African nationalist leaders. Take a look at this tweet. Black people trying to bring down another black man. Now, I'm not saying it's deliberate, but think carefully. Who was the last major African revolutionary leader to be killed? Yeah, you're right. Muammar al-Gaddafi back in 2011. Now here's the question. Who was the US president at that time? Again, you're spot on. It was the only black man to ever lead the United States, Mr. Barack Obama. Now, fast forward to today. Michael Langley becomes the first black man in almost 250 years to reach 4-star rank in the US Marine Corps. And once again, he's tasked with confronting another black revolutionary, Captain Ibrahim Traore. Coincidence? Maybe. But history has patterns, and this one is hard to ignore. It paints a disgusting truth that black Americans under US institutions have often been used to strike down fellow black people, both at home and abroad. That's the ugly side of Michael Langley's legacy in Africa.
These violent extremist organizations, they're seeking recruiting from the Burkinabe people. That threatens their sovereignty.
And that threatens America's interest?
Say again?
Does that then threaten America's interests?
Yes, thank you for asking that.
And now, after becoming notorious across the continent, reports suggest the US is already planning to replace him and install someone else to finish the mission. But before moving forward, here's another sad truth about the US military in Africa and what they are really doing. As Michael Langley himself admitted, terrorism in Africa was at just 2% before 2004.
In 2007, the global percentage of terrorism on the African continent was 2%.
Then, by 2024, it accounted for almost 40% of all global terrorist activity.
2024, it's like 43%.
He said this to highlight how terrorism is spreading rapidly, particularly across North Africa, the Sahel, and the Maghreb. And yes, that's true. But the real cause behind this chaos, it all began with the fall of Muammar Gaddafi. It was the US and France who armed militia groups to overthrow him, leaving Libya in ruins and instability spreading like wildfire across the continent. And do you know who backed those Arab revolutionaries after Gaddafi's death? The West did. Now you begin to see the pattern. They create instability, then return pretending to be the saviors. Take a look at this tweet. It sums up the double standard perfectly. Do you realize how many Americans are killed by gun violence? Every single day. Yet they never call that terrorism. But when Africans fight for their independence, they're quickly labeled as terrorists who must be stopped. Let that sink in. And don't forget, the US and its allies are deeply threatened by the growing presence of China and Russia across Africa.
So you're not concerned about China and Russia expanding their military and economic influence across the continent?
We are concerned about it, yes.
What about it concerns you?
Well, you know, their influence.
That's why they're trying everything they can to hold on. Military deals, puppet regimes, media narratives, even coups. But here's the good news. Africans are awakening. And the only question that remains is, are you one of them? What do you think African nations should do to achieve true independence? Let us know in the comments below. And here's something to watch out for. News headlines suggest that the US may soon replace Michael Langley as head of AFRICOM. If that happens, we'll tell you everything you need to know about the new face of America's military in Africa in our next video. So if you want to stay informed, subscribe to our channel, Arisen now, and turn on notifications so you don't miss it. And if this video opened your eyes, share it with your fellow African nationalists, because the more people who know the truth, the harder it becomes to control the narrative.
If you want to get videos like this, just click this video on your screen. Let's catch up there.